Hi, thank you so much for joining me for day 24 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. And today is a sketch designed by Jen Miller, which you can see in the top right hand corner there. And I'm going to be using Spectrum Gardenia from 49 and Market to document some flowers that my cousin sent me at the beginning of the year. They're living in Belgium at the moment, and they were over for Christmas because my cousin's wife's family live on the Wirral, so fairly local to us. And so we hosted a post-Christmas get-together for all the family, which was really lovely. We went out for a meal, and then everybody came back here for drinks, and it was great fun. So they sent these beautiful flowers through Bloom and Wild as a thank you. I was very grateful for them because they were absolutely stunning, and it was a beautiful surprise. So you can see I've just cut a small square from that lilac paper to create the corners and just tore it in half so that I've got the torn edges, which I'll curl up. And now I'm going to add some stripy paper per the sketch as the second layer along. And again, I've torn the edges. I just like that effect on my pages, really. So just layering those up now and using the water technique to curl the edges so that they set solid once they're dry. And I just take a little bit of time to roll those up and make sure that they're exactly how I want them. These papers from 49 and Market are very thick, so that it's quite hard work rolling them, but it's well worth it. So just gluing the corner down onto that strip, and then I can trim off the excess pieces. I don't want to glue these down yet because I'm going to add some mixed media behind them, so I just want to get the corners in place and then I can move them out the way to add the mixed media. So just trimming off the excess there, and then I can work on the other corner. And again, adding the water just to get that curled up there. I probably should have cut some of this out, shouldn't I? I'm so sorry. It's a bit boring watching somebody just rolling paper up or trying to roll paper. So now working on this second one. And again, rolling that first piece, and then I'll add the stripy paper, glue it down, and you'll see I'm hanging it over the edge quite a lot because I want to make sure that that top edge does meet the edge of the white cardstock. So you can see the corner of that top edge is up on the white cardstock there. And then once I've glued that down, I can trim off the excess like that. And that's the second layer done. So just one more layer to go. Curling up the edges yet again. And the third layer, I'm going to use that paper you can see on the left-hand side that's blue and fades into green. The colours on the pictures, I've got a blue vase and obviously all the greenery in the florals. I just thought this would work really nicely. So tearing one strip to add to that bottom piece or the top piece, and then I can just trim off the other strip to add to the other side and use the torn edge that's already there rather than creating a new one. And I like the way that the blues are then opposite one another and the greens opposite one another rather than being turned the other way. So again, just checking the positioning, and then I can get that glued down and then trimmed and rolled. So there's one side, just working on the other. And this time I decided to just make a pencil mark to cut rather than trying to hold it against the cardstock. You'll see in a minute, and that was so much easier. So you can see just roughly drawing the line and then trimming that off. And then water again, and then curl. And because of the way this curls, I will have to trim off those ears at the ends because they would hang over the edge of the page otherwise. And I love the way when curling the paper it shows the colours underneath. So it just adds a little pop of the other colours there. So here I am just trimming off those ends. So once again, just marking with my pencil. Adding the water and then curling up. And this was probably the longest part of the video actually. Once I've got this done, it does go much quicker. Just making sure there's enough water. Like I say, it's very thick paper, so you want to make sure it's easy enough to curl and hold that curl as well. And look at those oranges peeping through. I really enjoy that. So again, cutting off those little ears, and there we have it. So just bringing my photos in to check that I'm happy with the positioning and how it's all going to work. So it's a photo of the flowers in their box as they arrived, along with a photo of the message that Miles had put inside, and then a photo of the flowers once they've been arranged in my vase. So I'm bringing in 2 Shimmers paints here. The purple one is Honeymoon, it's in Inklings, and then the green one is a Creamies in Sage It Isn't So. So just marking a pencil line where those 2 corners are going to go, and I also wrote top and bottom, well, T and B, so that I knew which went in which place in case I move them around my desk, which I tend to do. And now I'm using the packaging technique just to smear some of this paint down. This is a great way of adding paint and letting it dry quickly, because obviously you don't have the pools of water, so it does dry incredibly quickly when you're smearing it onto the card. The only thing you lose is those beautiful depths of colour that you get when you add more water, because as it pools and dries you get the deeper lines around the edge of the water. But it's still a beautiful look. Just a different technique, that's all. So adding some splatters of that purple, and then I shall come in with the green. Sage It Isn't So. So nearly put the lid on, but then remembered you're supposed to leave them to dry out before putting the lid on. It's only the Shimmers paints that you have to put the lid on straight away, the ones that are already wet. The other ones you're best leaving to dry out before adding the lid back on. So just splattering big splodges of this green and then smearing them in with my paintbrush. And obviously this is going to mix in a little bit with those splats of purple that I've added, but that's fine. And then using my packaging again just to spread that out a bit and help it to dry quickly. And just want to make sure it goes right to the edges. So I do get a bit on my desk, but it's easily wiped off, it's only watercolour. So coming back in with the photos now. And this is where I need to decide what to do. I hadn't really thought much further than this. I don't tend to buy florals from collections as a rule. I'm not a huge floral user, but I do have the ephemera pack from this collection and also the Essentials laser cut elements. So first of all, I'm just working out where to put those doodled circles that Jen has on her sketch. And this is where I'm realising that my corners are much smaller than hers. So I just use my pencil just to draw a rough guideline, and then I'm just going for it with my black gel pen. I think it's the only way, and you just keep going. If you're not happy with the circle, just keep adding the lines until it becomes more circular. So there we go, there are my 2 circles. So now I can tape down those corner pieces, and then, as I say, start building and embellishing. So back in with the photos, and I decide I want them to go on top of the corner rather than tucked underneath. I was toying with tucking them under. So bringing in any florals that I can find in this ephemera pack, and that turns out to be just this huge piece here, and then that leaf. So I toy with putting the leaf at the bottom cluster as well, but I end up moving that up to the top, and I'm going to use some frames to embellish. So first of all, I bring in that beautiful Instagram frame, and then there are these huge ornate frames which aren't particularly my taste, but I work out a way to use them on this layout that works really nicely. So half the frame is hidden, and I'm just tucking the corner of the photo in like that, and it just acts as a really nice mat for that photo without being too obviously a frame. So I bring another one into the bottom cluster, and I'm just working out, I don't want it pointing in the same position as the first one, so just working out which way to put the photo in so that that works. Just trimming the top of that photo off because it's on my kitchen side, and you could see the edge of the kitchen side, and it just looked like the photo had been trimmed oddly, so I was just trimming that top bit off to make it look better. So bringing in some more bits from the ephemera pack, I've got that little butterfly in the bottom cluster and that word phrase that says remember this on the top, and that covers up the little gap that I had between the photo and the frame nicely. And now I'm just going to bring in some of these 6 to 25mm foam pads just to raise the tops of the photo up. I'm going to just add them to the top and keep the bottom flat. And then just adding some glue around the other bits and pieces to hold them in place. So that big floral piece acts as the floral mat to the bottom photo, and then I've got the frames on that top photo. So adding that butterfly, and then I'll do the same to the top, just adding the foam pads at the top of the photo but leaving the bottom flat, and then gluing the rest of it down. Getting that word strip glued down, and then just a little bit of glue on this leaf. And it's lovely and dimensional, this layout, plenty of texture. So just adding a second 6-2 foam pad there, and then gluing the bottom bit down flat. And you can see on the bottom cluster I've completely covered those lines that I created. So just bringing in a few more tickets. That's a little bread tag there. These are from the laser cut pieces, and just creating a cluster to hide that little corner that I felt was bare there. And as I say, completely covered all those lines, but I will come back and bring some more in. So getting that bottom photo stuck down now. Just using a couple of foam pads to raise it up over those ridges of the torn papers. And here I am just adding that circle back in. So just adding a rough guideline to start with, and then I can go in and intensify it a little bit. So just making sure that it's everywhere where there's a gap on the paper, which there aren't that many. I've managed to cover an awful lot of it. And you'll also notice that nearly all of the mixed media that I created is hidden as well, so I will go in and add some more of that shortly. First of all, adding a piece of the laser cut lace along the bottom. I just like the look of that, and it sort of draws your eye across, and then it gives me a place to add my journaling. So just adding the roller date stamp to give the date in that awkward space below the die cut floral piece. And here I am now coming in with some more mixed media. So first of all, with the creamies, Sage It Isn't So, and just adding little bits. And there's no rhyme or reason why. I think I just saw the green and grabbed that first. And then I come in with the purple, the Honeymoon from Inklings, adding some to the top and some to the bottom. I'm so sorry, I hadn't realised my layout was off the screen there, but I'll bring it down shortly so you can see. There we go. And I did go in a bit heavy-handed with that, so I'm just wiping some off with my brush and bringing that down to the bottom as well. And because I've used the archive link, it's fine painting over the date, it won't smear it at all. And the gel pen won't smudge either. So just making sure that I'm happy with how everything looks. Bringing a bit more in all around the page. Again, that went a bit dark, but I'll just add some more water and smear it out. It's fine. And then some more splatters to finish. And then I want to come in with some green splatters as well, of course. And adding that mixed media just merges those two corners much more into one another. So once that's dry, I'm going to bring in this ticket. This was actually cut from the Laser Cut Elements packaging. They print some, 49er Market always prints some extra bits that you can fussy cut if you want. So adding that to that left-hand side, and then some wax twine in a deep purple that I just tie in a bow and leave to trail And I love how that finishes that corner off nicely. And then you can see while I was waiting for that paint to dry, I pulled out a load of little bits and pieces that we sell at Hey Little Magpie just to dot around the page. And this really finishes it off. So some of these beautiful embroidered florals and that puffy butterfly, iridescent butterfly. And just dotting those about, working on the top section first and then moving down to the bottom. And at the bottom we've got some florals, a tiny star and a little suede smiley face as well, which works nicely. And that green heart that I'm adding there to that cluster is again from the ephemera pack, I think. Either the ephemera pack or the laser cut elements. I think it's the ephemera pack that one's from. So just these last couple of florals. I think they're going to go by that butterfly, but actually, sorry, the face and the floral, they work better down there. And once those are down, you can see on the left-hand side by my water, I've got that little pot of pearls. So I'm just going to scatter those around as well. And again, it's just adding a different dimension. They're in a silver grey and they just look really nice scattered around the page. I won't make you watch me gluing these down. It was painful enough positioning them on the page. They're quite static, so sometimes they stick to my fingers, so it takes a little bit of work to get them off. So now they're glued down, I'm going to come in with my journaling, and it's just what I've told you already, that they were sent from Miles and family. So that's the journaling done. And finally, this little fabric tag. So do check the description box down below to see everybody else who's joining in. There's a lovely playlist that Christie's provided for us all. And that's it for today. I shall see you tomorrow for day 25. Thanks so much. Bye.